I'm not the one who's gonna get hurt.
You said you don't do threats.
Yeah? Well, people change.
You don't waste people like that. You reform them. Repair them. Let them make restitution for their mistakes. Mistakes, that's what you call it?
Get your head out of your ass. They just saved our lives.
Then let me express my gratitude.
Maybe this time you'll learn.
Everywhere you go, destruction follows. Because of your ego. You're a hypocrite, waltzing off to help your mass-murdering dad. But God forbid anyone else screws up, and then tries to make good.
And if you ever come near my family again, I will kill you.
Do it! Kill him! Before he escapes or something! Look at what he did! Kill him so he can never do this again! What are you waiting for?
You can be the good guy. Or the guy who saves the world. You can't be both.
Well, how about we actually test that? Let's say there was an asteroid about to hit a hospital and an orphanage, but you can only save one. Which do you choose? Would it change your answer if I told you that the hospital just made a breakthrough on cancer treatment? What if I told you that the orphanage is full of future lawyers, firefighters, and police officers? You know, people who will go on to save lives. Would it make a difference if I told you you also have the option to do nothing? Can we all agree that that was a hard choice to make with just a few seconds? But real leaders, like the ones you elect, and like Cecil Stedman, make these decisions all the time. Are you willing to take that risk? Was it worth it? And most importantly, who gets to justify it? And that's why we're going to be talking about Invincible and the... I really enjoyed Invincible Season 3, but something really annoyed me, and that was Mark's constant bickering and hypocrisy. The whole season was a standstill between Mark and Cecil debating on who's morally right. This all stems from Mark being mad at Cecil for recruiting and rehabilitating criminals, like Darkwing, to help out in crime scenarios. For Mark's character arc as a whole, this is just such a dangerous and hypocritical mindset to have. Because let's just point out the obvious. When all the superheroes got captured, they would have died to Doc Seismic if it wasn't for Darkwing's arrival. A second notable act, all of the remaining Guardians of the Globe would have died if it wasn't for Darkwing sacrificing himself. I loved how in this season we got some of Cecil's backstory, and we got to see that when he was younger he had a similar ideology to Mark, but he grew out of it because it's unrealistic. Cecil on paper is a criminal who has been rehabilitated, and he recognized the mistakes in his past ways. Personally, I never liked the narrative that all criminals are bad people and don't deserve second chances to do good. Did you know that 80% of people in jail in the US haven't been convicted? They're just too poor to afford bail. Or how homeless people during the winter purposely commit crimes just to avoid sleeping in the cold. I think we should address if the system is pushing evil, or is it just punishing poverty and circumstance? Mark, out of all people, should understand the weight of circumstances and having to deal with weight that was pushed on you that you didn't ask for.
We need to get Earth ready to join the Viltrum Empire.
His father killed over 3,000 people during the assault on Earth, not because he was born evil, but because he was conditioned for it. Years of indoctrination from the Viltrum Empire made him believe that conquering the Earth was the only way to survive, and refusing the mission would have meant death, treason. Don't get me wrong, Mark was in complete shambles, furious and heartbroken, but deep down, he still saw the man behind the mission. He believed his father could change, and he gave him a second chance. But when it comes to street criminals, you're telling me that's where Mark draws the line. A very underrated episode in Season 3, if I do say myself, is Episode 3. It starts off with no dialogue, giving backstory to two random criminals who happen to be down on their luck. They try to earn an honest living but can't overcome poverty, so they have no other choice but to resort back to crime. It highlights how even when you try to do your best, or just to do the right thing, circumstances can force you back into a life you're trying to escape. And then the episode caps off with Mark just throwing them in jail without a care in the world. I've always wondered, would he have acted so angrily if they were potentially hired by Cecil? Would he have viewed them as hardened criminals, not knowing how hard they had it as people? Or what if he had shown them more understanding given their circumstances? How many of you heard what pragmatic power means? Just to sum it up, it means do what needs to be done. Not do what's right, not do what's fair, just do what works. This is what Cecil believes in. I know you've been seeing the memes where it could be a universal threat and Cecil will still offer it a job. But could you blame him when the Guardians of the Globe are getting no diff by C-tier villains? I think he wouldn't even care about their past backgrounds, he would have just gave them a shot because they could be useful in the future. As we know, one of the central struggles with this season is the value of life. We see this clash clearly when Mark argues with Oliver after he kills the Mauler twins.
You killed them!
I didn't mean to, but now they won't hurt anyone else.
I didn't mean to, but now
Mark says every life has a chance at redemption, no matter how small, but Oliver fires back.
You killed the guy who broke Mom's arm.
That was an accident!
So was this.
Oliver, it's wrong.
Once again, Mark gets called out on his hypocritical actions, and he's able to justify it because someone attacked his family. But what's justifiable about any of this? Personally, I feel like the Powerplex storyline needed work, but hear me out. The tragedy of Powerplex is that he's not wrong. He just got caught in a world where justice isn't evenly applied, where some people get second chances and the others just get buried in rubble. I want you to really imagine that you wake up and your closest loved ones get obliterated by a superhero attack, and you try your hardest to seek justice the right way only to get rejected with no real explanation. So when Powerplex attacked Mark, not to save the world but to grieve, to make someone feel what he felt, could that be justified? Maybe not, but if you ask me, it's understandable. I'm sorry, but the hypocrisy of power is in how it defines justice. It punishes the powerless for things it excuses in the powerful. In this world, forgiveness is a privilege, not a principle. In fields like these, you have to realize, pawns never get to choose the board, they just get moved, and when the game's over, they get swept away. I say this as it's real life. Just earlier this year, incarcerated firefighters in California worked for $1 an hour, risking their lives with little to no training. When they're released, they're not even allowed to apply to be real firefighters because of their records. Treated like heroes when needed, but labeled as criminals when the fire goes out. Everyone in this universe is a pawn to some extent. Mark and the Guardians of the Globe realized that quickly.
What even are we to him? We're weapons. Like his tanks and guns and all that stuff. Useful until we're not.
But being a pawn isn't about weakness, it's about lack of choice. The hypocrisy of power lies in pretending that pawns choose their fate, when in reality, they're just moved around by people who never had to bleed.
Cecil! I need you, Cecil!
Mark was literally on a date and was forced to save the day, not because he wanted to, but because someone else had plans to use him. Even conquest is a pawn and a tool for the Viltrum Empire.
They send me from planet to planet committing atrocities in their name. And as I get better at it, they fear me more and more. I am a victim of my own success.
I never understood why fans of the show hated on Immortal and Kate for retiring, after countless times of sacrificing for a system that doesn't love them back. Ray and Rex does this also.
Cecil doesn't own us. We can just leave.
Now that I think about it, them quitting the Guardians of the Globe opened up Immortal's eyes to enjoying life outside of sacrifice.
Yes, there's hardship. Yes, there's sacrifice. If you children don't like that, get out!
Ooh, that's a great idea. Because I'd rather quit than work one more day with a sanctimonious, bootlicking, hypocritical prick like you.
I'm not defending Cecil. Let's be clear. He crosses the line time and time again, manipulating people, withholding information, and treating lives like chess pieces. And Mark has every right to be furious about the Sinclair bots, especially given how much destruction Sinclair caused, the pain he inflicted, and the lives he toyed with. But what complicates things is that Cecil doesn't keep the bots for power or fear. He keeps them because, in his eyes, they work. When the real threats come, world-ending ones, those same bots are often the only line of defense when the heroes fall. It's messed up. It's morally gray, and it doesn't erase the trauma that they cause, but it does expose how systems often justify violence when it's done in the name of the greater good. If you're American, you would know we're known for doing these types of things. The Manhattan Project. The atomic bomb ended World War II, but killed over 200,000 civilians. Scientists and military leaders justified it as preventing a far bloodier land invasion of Japan. Or even Operation Paperclip, where the US recruited Nazi scientists after World War II for the space race. Many had committed war crimes and atrocities but were given second chances in exchange for technological advancements to beat Russia. One episode that really sharpens Mark's moral dilemma is when he's taken to the future to stop a tyrannical ruler, someone who has enslaved humanity for centuries. But the shocking twist, it's Immortal, someone that once was his friend. He's been alive for so long that he's become the very thing he once fought against. He begs Mark to end his life. Mark hesitates. He doesn't want to kill someone he once looked up to. but he knows that if he doesn't act, more innocent people will suffer. So he does. He kills him. In that moment, it's haunting because it shows the thin line between hero and oppressor, how easily power, even when rooted in good intentions, can corrupt over time. Mark didn't want to play judge, jury, and executioner, but he did because he had to.
Human beings in a mind.
I'd like to hear what Invincible has to say.
This isn't a democracy, Bulletproof. You're coming back to the GDA with me.
What's a mob to a king? What's a king to a god?
So the only thing I want to do right now is hit something as hard as I can.
What's a god to a non-believer?
The good with the bad.
When Conquest recreates Omni-Man's exact tactics, forcing Mark to fight full force and watching civilians die, he isn't just trying to win, he's trying to break him.
Where is your Viltrumite heart? Until I see it beating in my hand, I won't believe you have one. Show me your power. Show me your rage.
And that's the same thing Omni-Man did. The same thing Cecil does, just in quieter ways. It's always,
Why did you have to ask that, kid?
Why did you make me do this? I can always start again. Make another kid.
Is this what you wanted?
so when Mark hesitates, when he holds back, he's not being soft, he's just resisting the cycle. I think the last point I want to make is that Mark is right. Life does have value, people can change, but where I get conflicted is when Mark hesitates with people like Angstrom. Someone who's made it clear that he'll stop at nothing to hurt and kill the people Mark loves. You know the saying from Uncle Ben.
With great power comes great responsibility.
At some point, with the kind of power Mark holds, refusing to act decisively starts to feel irresponsible. And I understand he's been dragged into things that he never asked for. But a moment that felt wrong for a lot of viewers is when Mark is being in the hospital with Adam Eve while the Invincible War is going on and he's nowhere to be found. Letting a universal threat like Angstrom roam free, knowing he'll just regroup, evolve, and strike again feels less like mercy and more like denial. In the end, Invincible Season 3 isn't just about heroes and villains. It's about the uncomfortable gray space in between, where power, justice, and morality constantly clash. Mark wants to believe in doing what's right, but struggles to see how his own privilege blinds him into systems that punish the powerless while forgiving the powerful. Cecil, for all his flaws, understands that survival sometimes means compromise. But that doesn't make him righteous, just effective. The truth is, justice shouldn't be a luxury reserved for those with capes or control. It should be a principle extended to everyone, even those labeled as criminals, even those treated as pawns. Because if we only value redemption when it's convenient, then we're not building a better world, we're just protecting the same broken one. I want to thank you for watching Media Munchies. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Peace.